This meeting is called to order. This is a meeting of the Ascension Parish Zoning Commission, July 12th, 2023, following the Planning Commission meeting. Ascension Parish Courthouse, 607 East Worthy Street, Gonzales, Louisiana, 70737, in the council chambers. We'll have a roll call of members once again. We can just do this. Yeah, Jamaica, you're going to call a roll, please? No, I like to have the roll call, you know?
All right. We have Mark Villa.
Here.
Nicholas Miller.
Here.
Max Nasser.
Here.
Randy Kluat.
Here.
And Julio Dumas.
Here. Then let the record reflect that Chairman Scheck-Snyder is not in attendance, nor is Commissioner Knoll. So as Vice Chairman, I'll be serving as Chairman for this meeting. Introduction of staff. Jamaica.
Jamaica Banker, Zoning Secretary.
Jerry Scary, IT.
Spencer Long, Parish Attorney.
Eric Poche, Director of Planning and Development.
Sean Chereau, Engineering Review Agency.
Lance Brock, Zoning Official.
And next item is Chairman's comments. I have no comments. Item number 5, minutes. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Villa.
Quick on the draw.
And a second by Commissioner Kluat. Any discussion? No discussion. Let's cast our votes. Five yeas, Dumas, Kluat, Nasser, Miller, Villa, voting affirmative. Commissioner Scheck-Snyder and Commissioner Knoll not in attendance. The next item is item 6. This is a public hearing to amend the Ascension Parish Development Code for recommendation for the approval or denial to the Ascension Parish Council for a zoning review, IDPZ 3200.23 for LJ Grazafi, located on the northwest corner of West and North Robert Wilson Road, approximately 2,640 feet north of LA Highway 30. It's to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from Conservation C and Light Industry LI to Medium Industry. So I'll ask, is there anyone here that is here to represent? Okay, none. Lance, you want to give us a rundown before we have discussion then, please?
Sure, yes, sir. The applicant is requesting to rezone its property, as you stated, from conservation and light industry to medium industry. This property is located on the north side of, there's a right-of-way of energy right-of-way that he's requesting. The property actually falls into 2 zoning classifications, like it's stated, conservation and light industry. The staff recommendation is to deny the rezoning request from light industry, industrial and conservation to medium industrial based on the permitted uses for medium industrial, and is not compatible with adjacent properties, and the master plan vision map reflects the property as estate lots, estate subdivision, residential.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have a public hearing on zoning review IDPZ 3200.23 for LJ Grazafi.
All right,
Is
I have
anyone- I'm sorry?
Mr. Norbert Lathan. He is not in support and would like to speak.
Mr. Latham, the rules that we have allow for 3 minutes for discussion, so
Okay.
try to be,
Sure, I'll
within
make
the
it
3
brief.
minutes.
So obviously I'm not in favor, but some of the things I really wanted you guys to consider, and I'm trying to speak on behalf of our neighbors as well, is one, the traffic that we have coming through there. I think anybody who lives in Ascension Parish, go right by Tanger, you can see the traffic that we're dealing with. But those cars are cutting through our neighborhood, and we're already, I have a stock truck, nothing different. I'm driving off of the edge of the road to avoid cars coming down my street. We've had a child hit on the street. I've had damage to my vehicle driving. My neighbor on the curve, poor folks, I think they've replaced their mailbox 6 times. 6 times. Unbelievable. And we don't need that kind of traffic coming through. addition to what we're already dealing with. The other thing that I wanted you guys to consider is the rain and the weather. Since they put our homes in, it's made the flooding behind worse. It used to come past our homes into the ditches, but now you put stuff behind us, well, it's going to have to come through our homes. And that's going to be a big problem. Can we get a picture of this on the screen? I can show you some of the flooding.
Yes, we can.
I don't have a printout, but I have a pic. Can you see my phone? No?
We see it.
Oh,
We
there
can
we
see
go.
it. There it is.
There we go. So that's looking from my backyard to the back, and that's that back of the property there. You can see on a heavy rain. And that's after it calmed down. You know, it was almost breaching our back door, and here's some more pictures for you guys to see how terrible it was. And if we start adding a bunch of concrete and guys working behind us, it's only gonna make it worse. We're only gonna get more water coming and pushing through to our homes. You know, we've got enough. We don't need any more. That's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jamaica?
I have Kelly Anderson. She's not in support and would like to speak.
Likewise, Ms. Anderson, I'm going to remind you, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commission members. The area in the request butts up against residential properties. I'd also like to use the overhead, please. Hopefully it's not too big for the screen. It might be. Y'all have copies of the pictures?
We do,
Okay.
but you can move it around a little bit.
Okay,
and,
so, Norbert, who was just speaking, this is his house right here. All of that, this whole area. Oh, thank you. There are also, these are homes here, which are all conservation zoned. The green is the conservation, and they're trying to put medium industrial right next to it. I know that y'all are familiar with the Ascension Parish land use plan statement, but to reference why we are concerned, medium industry by nature may create nuisance to nearby residential developments. Large-scale warehousing and distribution centers are allowed. Medium industrial anticipates a moderate to heavy volume of vehicular traffic. Those things in combination with this gray area shows that the area being requested is predominantly a flood zone. So combining those things, larger buildings, more roadways, impeding the flow of storm runoff in a flood zone surrounded by more flood zone and other properties. The additional pressure of moderate to heavy volume of vehicular traffic would likely cause this development in the planning stage to utilize Robert Wilson Road, which is mainly a small residential road. It's barely wide enough, as he spoke about, for 2 cars. They would have to procure land from our front yards, which is small to begin with. It would be very expensive and costly, and I don't think it's a good practice. It's already unsafe. There are more guidelines for light industrial, which is what it's already zoned, that make it an appropriate transition from the current medium industry between there and the conservation area. And the current zoning offers this transition as is, and it still allows development of business as it is. Previously, the previous landowner requested this to be rezoned from conservation. That's why it's currently light industry and medium industry. The original landowner asked for a larger area of medium industry than it is currently, and was recommended by the parish council that he reduce the amount of medium industry because of all of these concerns and our arguing against it.
You have 30
It was
seconds.
ultimately reduced and compromised, and for all of these reasons, I ask you to consider the parish's recommendation to deny.
Thank you. Thank you. Whoops.
All right. And all of the following are not in support and do not wish to speak. I have Larry Anderson, Thomas Frege, Nicole Gritty, Chrissy Rice, Kevin Winfield, and Sheila Jacquet. And that's it. Okay, I have Mr. Thomas Evans not in support.
That's everyone, Jamaica?
That's everyone.
Public hearing's closed. Commissioners, discussion, questions,
What are we gonna ask?
motion. Well, we can ask Lance.
You know,
Oh, wait.
ask Lance first.
But we do have a motion, so let's get a second, and then we'll open the floor to discussion.
I got a motion to deny that we move
Second.
forward to the parish council.
Okay, motion to deny forwarding it to the parish council for approval, second by Commissioner Dumas. Now we'll have some discussion. You first, Julio.
You know, which, I was there when we had that rezoning. I know what that was like. And you guys made a lot of compromises. You did. And the parish helped a lot to resolve a lot of issues around there. And she's 100% right. This has been litigated and debated, you know, and there was a very good solution that was adopted quite some time ago. And there's no need to expand this industrial area whatsoever. She's 100% right. That is lowland. It's very wet. It's going to have a lot of adverse effect on surrounding property. This request is inconsistent with the master plan, and certainly no rational reason to recommend approval for it. So that's my spiel.
Okay, anyone else, comments?
Yeah, I'm going to second that we've put a lot of effort into creating that master plan and getting it where we need it to be and designating certain areas for particular projects. And certainly the removal of conservation areas is, I think, a hot topic, and we don't need to do it at this size for sure. So I'm okay with the denial there.
Okay, so my 2 cents on this issue is that we have created conservation zoning for a reason, and I think that protection of that conservation zoning area, not just here, but in other instances, is very important, particularly when there's an effort to rezone a conservation district to such an intense zoning as is being requested here. So I also am in opposition. Anyone else? Let's cast our votes.
Commissioners,
I'm sorry?
real quick, can Mr. Kluat please restate his motion for the record?
Was it, yeah, would you restate your motion for the record? I think the motion,
Was it to
There was a
recommend
motion to
denial?
deny
We need
the
to
zoning
make a motion to
request forwarded
recommend.
to the parish council.
Excuse me, it needs to be a recommendation.
A recommendation
To
to
deny.
deny forwarded to the council.
Okay, thank you.
yes, and it was seconded by Commissioner Dumas.
Okay.
Now we're going to vote. So, let me clarify, because I made this mistake last meeting. A vote yes means to not recommend approval to the parish council.
Yes would be to recommend the denial.
Denial, yes.
Yes.
I
You're
said
voting
it,
yes on his
I said
motion.
it in a double negative.
You
but
did.
That's it.
That was- You definitely did not clarify.
Okay. All right, let's go. So I didn't clarify. Let's see if I screwed up. Okay, the vote is unanimous. Dumas, Kluat, Nasser, Miller, Villa voting yes on the motion. Scheck, Snyder, and Knowles not in attendance, and so the action is to recommend, or not recommend approval, or recommend denial to the parish council. We're good? Okay. Next item on the agenda is a discussion item, no actions required. It's a discussion of a proposed fence ordinance revision discussion. Staff?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Last month, basically, it was discussed back and forth, and I just wanted to bring it back to discuss it some more. I mean, it's basically the same as it was last month, as far as a presentation to you folks. I think the big hang-up was the grandfathering.
I want to take it out. So you want, go on.
So, Commissioner Dumas.
I guess you know,
Yeah, hold on.
recognizing that if a subdivision already has fences on there, okay, so how do you establish there's enough fences in that subdivision to warrant granting a permit to build a fence in the servitude? 25%, 35%, 50%? It seems to me like those fences were erected prior to the ordinance that requires a permit for a fence.
Correct.
So they're essentially non-conforming, okay? And they're going to continue to be non-conforming,
Yes.
okay? I think to do anything with these fences other than to just recognize them as non-conforming if they're existing prior to 4/27/2022 or whatever date, you want to make a 2023 date, I'm good with that. That's fine. But to get in the business of saying, oh, we're going to continue to permit these, you got a servitude, a drainage servitude that nobody maintains. And I question, does it even function? Okay?
Well, and that's the big question is, you know, if the parish needs to get in there and maintain the ditches and within the servitudes, they have the right to have the property owners remove the fences to get in there and do it.
Correct.
They have not really done that. This is more in subdivisions, whereas in obviously in individual rural lots, it's a little bit different because, you know, you've got a little bit more room. The parish is able to get in there. You have bigger ditches a lot of times in rural neighborhoods, whereas in subdivisions, you do not. The parish does have the ability to get in there and do what they need to do, should they need to do that, number one. Number two, we are now taking steps and have over the last couple of years that unless something is taking water from an adjacent property, all of those servitudes are private.
Correct.
So that there's no public water going through there. Unless there's an absolute necessity for public water to go into a ditch, then we're not allowing it. They're all private servitudes.
But again, we're talking about a small servitude that I don't know that the parish has a piece of equipment and go in there and clean it.
Correct.
Okay, what are they going to do, roll over patios and I guess avoid swimming pools?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, you know, if we're gonna do something, let's make sure it's practical and functional, okay? And for me, the only practical and functional thing to do is to say, they're non-conforming, we now require a permit. You don't issue any more permits for fences on a drainage servitude, whether it's private or public, okay? And I would say that an HOA servitude is public, okay? Because it's an entity, right? And then I think that the changes that we're discussing, you know, on the planning commission to eliminate those servitudes in the rear property, you know, common rear property lines, I think you've cured the problem, and you make it simple. At the end of the day, the code doesn't need to be so complicated that, you know, it takes 3 people to figure out what to do.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, even if you did something today, it's gonna be a long-lasting effect. I mean, we're starting to do this with subdivisions now, and it's gonna be a long time before you really notice a huge difference.
Correct. That is a very true statement. So the KISS mentality works fine for me.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I think if you take that, keep it simple thing,
Yes.
it's
I mean,
better.
we will do, if you want us to come back next month with revisions, specific revisions to that effect, if there are other items that you want us to include in here, y'all discuss it amongst yourselves and direct us, and we'll make it happen.
I'm expressing my, you know, my own opinion. I mean, I don't know how any other commissioners feel about that. I just want to keep it simple so that the general public can understand it, and the parish doesn't assume unnecessary liability.
Okay.
Okay, so we've heard Commissioner Dumas's opinion. The next opinion is Commissioner Miller.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the taking on the extra liability, because now if you're saying that we're going to have to take down fences, we mess up material or whatever, we're going to be buying new material to replace a fence that should have never been there to begin with. So I'm certainly not in favor of that, but I think these drainage servitudes have entrances on both ends. So if you were to run a piece of equipment in there, it would be on public property. You're not driving across somebody's patio, so to say. But you've got to be able to maintain and clean these out. I mean, there was pictures that the parish put up maybe about 2 weeks ago. We got some guy in waders and a shovel cleaning out a drainage ditch. I mean, this is 2023. Certainly we have a piece of equipment that can go and clean out a ditch for us, but it cannot access that area because we have fences in the way. There was another photo dragging out a fence panel that is exactly that problem. Mm-hmm. We have the panels that are in the way. It's blocking culverts, blocking, the box drains. We've got to be able to keep those clear to get the water out of there. And so I think that making a law that says that we're going to go ahead and allow it to continue is counterproductive to, and certainly counterintuitive to what we're trying to accomplish. Just like you said, moving forward in years down the road, mm-hmm. We've got to stop it at some point. And just because you want to, you missed the boat 6 years or 12 years ago on putting your fence up, and now you want to do it now, and you want to be in line with the one that's already non-conforming, I don't think that. I think you missed a sale on that one. And now there's no more permits issued for fences to go in that servitude. You can still put the fence up, and we're allowing permitting, but your fence is going to have to be outside of that servitude line in the store.
Yeah, and I think that's the gist of the discussion. I mean, we've got fences, you've got an existing condition all over the place. Right now, if somebody comes in to get a fence permit and they have never had a fence before, then they will not be permitted to put it in a drainage servitude.
Well, that's my problem with that C1, is that you're saying that if the neighbor already had their fence up because that neighborhood was prior to the grandfather date, now new guy can build his fence in line with the existing. I want to tell a new guy, hey, look, you missed the boat on that one. You're going to have to be in conforming with the new code, that your fence cannot be in that permit. There is no grandfathering in. If it's there, like Julio said, it's non-conforming, and we'll address that as need come, but we're not going to make a way for more problems to be in the way. That's my piece.
Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask, just for informational purposes, the way that our current regulations, our current ordinance reads, if there is a fence that is existing on the public servitude, and the parish has to get into that public servitude for maintenance, for instance, does the parish have the authority to remove the fence?
Yes. They would notify the property owners and say, on X date, we're coming through here to do maintenance. You either remove your fences that are across, because, I mean, there's no mistake about it. If you have a fence across the servitude, that's against the code, because there's specifics in the code that prohibit the fences or anything that prohibits drainage from being within the servitude. Once you get a parish of 115, 20,000 people, in years and years, there are fences in the servitudes, but the parish has the ability to notify the property owners to go in there. If they do not remove the fences outside of the servitude to allow the drainage work, then the parish has the authority to go in there, remove the fence, and put a lien on the property.
And the parish, then, again, all this is just for clarity, and then the parish has no obligation to reconstruct the fence.
No, that's correct. It's up to the property owner.
Okay. Any further conversation, discussion? Okay, we'll have a staff report. Next item, item 8, staff report.
No report.
No report. Next item, Commissioner Villa.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I want to get you in there. Second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor? Aye. Yeah, meeting's adjourned.